great. Everyone came back. It's always a little bit of a surprise if you go back on stage and you're going to be by yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for sharing your film with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, it was really striking work, and as a first-time feature film director, it was quite impressive to see the film and the work you've done on the writing, but also visually, and not a bad casting.
Not too shabby. Thank you.
Maybe I'm going to ask to talk about the writing process, because you co-wrote together, which is an interesting process to write something together. You were in the same place at the time when you were writing. Did you bounce back ideas and write, in different places? And how would the process was developing as it come along when you knew you were going to take the writing to a script, to a film? It probably not the original idea, just like, oh, we're going to write a film. So it's quite interesting to know how you collaborated on that part and how it developed.
Yeah, yeah. So for a few years, I had separately had this impulse to do something about brotherhood and the kind of the sort of beauty and tragedy of that archetype. Like, I have brothers, and it was just like something I wanted to find a way into, and I couldn't really tell like what the best angle was. Like, I was thinking maybe at first it might be like a coming of age story or something like that. And then when my dad came to me with the idea of us potentially finding a project to go into together, we were sort of casting around for ideas, and it turned out he separately had that fascination with brotherhood as a potential subject. So that sort of was the seed, and specifically the kind of the silences that can exist in brotherhood, and how those silences, how many different silences there can be. And yeah, we started with this idea of just a man living in this state of self-banishment, without knowing really exactly why he was in that state, or why he was estranged from his brother, who comes mysteriously to his doorstep. And it was very intuitive and kind of low stakes at first. We weren't sure if it would really develop into a full-length script, and we didn't outline it ahead of time, so it was very much kind of character-led, where we were just sort of following them from one scenario to the next. And there's a lot of improvisation, and yeah, we would only work on it when we were in the same place together, so it kind of came together gradually over a few years.
Um, yeah, we made a decision, as Ronan said, right at the beginning, that we would. Ronan had just recently graduated from school and was working as a full-time painter, and I don't know where I was, somewhere else. But we decided we would only write when we were in the same room, and for that reason, it probably took quite a bit longer than it might have done, but it also, I think, the slow cooking of it, I think, was probably an important aspect. And we often came together wondering, where these characters were going to lead us as they began to announce themselves. And I don't think we ever left the room when we started to write without finding uh, finding a scene. I mean, we found a scene.
Yeah, no, it's
pretty
true.
much, and
Yeah, sometimes it felt like we just had no way forward. We had no idea
right,
where they were,
yeah,
where we could go with it next. But yeah, it always,
yeah.
even if it was just a really small amount of
Yeah.
progress, I feel like each time got a little bit further. Yeah.
It's interesting because Ronan's experience was inside brotherhood, and I suppose mine was in the observation of brotherhood, the complicity and the provocations, and the kind of wild disagreements, and then the reconciliations, and so on.
And then it could have been a play, because it's also, there's a lot of visual aspect, but like the core of the story could just be a play with the two characters. And when did you decide to actually shoot it? And also, I'm curious about the placement in Northern England.
Yeah. Well, the Northern England placement, I think, came together pretty intuitively. Like, I guess, my dad had grown up in England and had friends from the north, and then I he had a connection to Ireland, and I had grown up there. So that's how the kind of blend of it being set in England and then having the backdrop of the Troubles sort of fell into place. But yeah, wait, sorry, what was the first part? Oh yeah, yeah. There's definitely like a theatrical element to it, and I think it's like we went in wanting to write something really contained and really, eventually we just started to get sick of it being in this shed with these two guys, and it kind of the other characters on the periphery started to kind of announce themselves and insist on being real people. And I think the first time we started to spend time alone in the script with Brian and Nessa, it started to really widen the scope of it and make it more than a play. Even though we always wanted it to be a film, it did have a kind of really play-like quality at first. But even in the first 10 pages, the weather was a really important aspect, and like these kind of this sort of, I guess, feeling of a bit more of a cosmic backdrop behind the human drama, I think.
When you were writing and you decided to make film, were you thinking about the role you were going to play, or were you bouncing around both, maybe?
Well,
and at what point?
As a natural extension of the improvisational work, of course, I was sort of playing all the parts for a while.
Played the mom too, right?
And when we discovered Nessa, we kind of craved for female company. We were so sick of being fucking shed with these two guys. So then we became, really sort of bewitched by Nessa as she began to appear. And but yeah, in terms of the brothers, yeah, I for a long time I was equally fascinated by Jem's experience within the story, and so I didn't feel like I'd made a decision, and I think at a certain moment unconsciously the decision was somehow made for me. It just became a natural extension of the work. I started to settle into it, and then as soon as we cast around like well who can play Jem? And we had a list with one person on it. And to our amazement and delight, Sean agreed to work with us. And from that moment on, because we were thinking of...
Didn't take much persuading.
I was hoping a big fight.
It could have been, it could have been... Nottingham, it could have been in the Potteries, it could have been different parts of the north where it was still a little bit open. The minute Sean was with us, we just saw it's Sheffield. It's got to be Sheffield. So that solved that problem.
Yeah. Sean, can you talk a little bit about coming into the project? You say there wasn't much convincing. You got the script, and that's all you needed.
Yes, I mean, it had a kind of various factors of interest for me. Working with Daniel was certainly one of them, and I always followed his work, seen him on the cinemas since I was very, very young, and obviously that played a big factor. And the script was very character-based. It was a profound relationship between these two brothers, very fractured, erratic relationship that kind of bounces from brotherly love to kind of almost hatred, I think, sometimes. Hatred of the past, that they're both haunted by their experiences. They didn't have a great upbringing. They joined the army, the British Army. They saw horrific sights over in Northern Ireland, and that, of course, lives with you. But I mean, that was a very strong basis. It always had the religious factor with me. I'd found solace in my religion, whereas Ray had found some kind of comfort, a very kind of unsettling and fractured comfort in his solitude. And I just thought that that combination of working with Daniel and seeing a really great script. It's not very often that you see scripts that are very character-based, with that it's just sheer drama that and it's very pure and very raw, where we're just dealing with emotions and silences, and you know, and then of course working with Ronan, who was wonderful on set, and created a lovely environment in which to work. So. Yeah, as I said, I didn't take much persuading to say yes.
I hope you have no regrets. I mean, the themes explored in the film are very heavy because you have the brotherhood, the religion, the trouble, the army, and then sharing a woman on top of it. So it's obviously a lot of things that will come into creating these characters coming together, and you do feel the love and the hatred sometime exactly at the same time, and that's very real, but it's also very hard to project on screen and to, you know, like get these feelings of they're so close, you know, it's like the coin is flipping back and forth all the time.
Yeah, we wanted that kind of fizzing negative space between them where it just you never know where it's going to jump to next, that kind of volatility. And I think, yeah, letting them really like live in those silences, like for instance when Jem first arrives at the hut and they're just looking at each other. I think it was amazing to see those just subtle kind of fluctuations in the dynamic between them in real time.
I'm not sure if it's necessarily clear in the final story, but certainly in our sort of, you know, in the entirety of the world that we had imagined, that, you know, as children, when they were in a care home, um, it had always been, it always seemed to be important to us that Jem really, I mean, yes, he's the older brother, but more importantly, he was the stronger. He was always the stronger of the two, and that there was a kind of a, even at an early age, Jem didn't even know why, but there was there was something fractured in Jem, in Bray from the earliest age, and and so I was very much led by my brother. Like, you know, when we were in each other's company, there was some solidarity that gave comfort to us, and I think you know, that's in a way the for all that I've abandoned, you know, the wife and child about to arrive, but the fracturing of the relationship with that brother is almost the central experience in Ray's life.
To go back to you, you know, we know you're a painter and you studied painting, and there's a strong element, like visual element in the film, and the way you decided to go really strongly in the elements, the coloring, the even the aspect ratio, like going wide, going big with all the colors. And there's a very intriguing sort of mythical animal towards the end that I also believe you made as a culture, you created it. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about this aspect that you brought to the film.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think from early on in the script, because we were writing really linearly, and the first moment of that kind that came to us, I think, was the Nessa visitation, where the younger version of Nessa is floating in front of his bed, and I think from that point on, it really liberated us to think more in terms of these kind of abstractions later on, and sort of start to lean into it almost as this like X-ray at times into his psyche, and also just into aspects that would normally be hidden, I guess, if it was treated more straight down the line. And yeah, the definitely certain images that I'd been obsessed with in my paintings for the last few years started to kind of bleed in. I think I realized more as we were shooting it and even in post, like how much overlap there was. But in terms of figuring out the palette and the kind of sense of the storm clouds sort of hanging over the whole thing, and working with the colorist to kind of figure out that the luminosity of the colors, and looking at like Fuji film stock as for the kind of intensity of those greens, because there's so much green in the film, and but then there's also, you know, blue is like a pretty big color in it. And yeah, the creature is something that had been kind of haunting my paintings for a few years, and it sort of insinuated itself at some point into the film. Like we both independently realized that we had been like kind of tentatively imagining it at different environments in the film. Like I think I first imagined it standing on the other bank of the river, and I wasn't sure why, but and I was kind of hesitant to bring it up because I was like, I thought maybe it doesn't belong in that world. But the fact that my dad had also, independently thought of that, we were just like, all right, let's explore it. So it, yeah, ended up in the film.
Sean, do you have a mythical element as well that you were bringing?
Do I have a mythical element?
Apparently,
I didn't
we're
have any animals
discussing
in the
mythical animals, so, and you're sitting in the middle, so I was just wondering if you had one too.
I'm not quite sure. Are you asking if I have any pets?
Or pets with, yeah.
Yeah, I've got some goldfish in a little pond.
I wish we had included those in the film.
I'm,
It's a little less cinematic, I have to say. It was a big fish, but it's just a goldfish.
oh yeah, but mine are alive. That was a big dead trout, wasn't it, floating down? I love those images that were created, that he created, and I loved it. You know, that bit in the fairground when we were walking, and I just saw it in the top corner of the screen, that image, with all the other lights, and I love how it kind of reoccurred throughout the film, and I just thought it gave it a different element, a kind of magical kind of. It was almost like a relief to see these images and to this mystic quality after all the heavy drama between ourselves and Samantha Morton's character as well, and Brian. I quite like anything like that. It reminded me like Jean Cocteau kind of feel to it, and I don't know, that's what we had the luxury of being able to do that, and I don't think everything has to be explained all the time in films or any drama whatsoever, and I just think that I don't know, it's up to you what you think about that, but it was essential for the film. I don't know, it just makes you feel different, doesn't it? I mean, I came out just kind of refreshed, especially after all the hailstones and all that, and it just seemed, it's like, thank God, it's some kind of release from this distraction, and certainly refreshed when I jumped in the Irish Sea with Daniel, and first thing in the morning, freezing.
You're very brave in that one.
I know I was. Thanks, Ronan, showing us in there.
Welcome.
I mean, it is a very heavy atmosphere, but there's moments where you get a relief sense, even in the pub. So it goes in and out, and it's true that I really love the way you bring, your creature in the end, just in between the hailstorm, and I think it's something that leaves us with a different feeling before this maybe reconciliation that we're hoping for. It's very puzzling because you really don't know it's going to go up to the fight. So.
Yeah, I think it was important to us that ambiguity is kind of maintained at the end, because there's an allowance for, like, I think, as you said, after all that weight and heaviness, like, we wanted literally there to be some light, but also to have the kind of I don't know. I think it was always important from the beginning. The one thing we knew from the beginning about, we didn't outline anything, but we knew that it would end before he gets in the door, and that was always, I think, essential. Yeah.
I have one question about the costumes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the little green shorts. Is it an original? Do you go to a vintage store? Is it made for the film?
Oh, no, those,
which shorts? The
all my
ones?
clothes.
Wait, if it's more than one?
Oh, when he's running on the beach? Yeah.
No, everything.
Yeah.
Everything
No,
was
it's true. There is just
hand-picked.
Yeah, Jane Petrie did an amazing job finding.
She's incredible costume designer, and I met her in London with her assistant, and she had access to a big barn of a storage space with racks and racks of amazing stuff, and we just ransacked it and found the things that seemed right, and
Do you go running in Central Park with it?
in that particular pair of shorts, I I don't believe I ever did, but I mean, who knows? Yeah.
Always time. Yeah.
Did you get some?
No. Well, not on this time around. Maybe. Bring me.
What is the about that particular pair of shorts that is,
It just set you in a very specific time for the film, and and the coloring, also the background with the color and
Yeah.
the red the red shirt.
Yeah.
I just think it's just like it's very panty as well, and there's really nice like contrast with the action, and yeah, there's a little bit funny.
I think also one of the elements that we were looking for without wanting to overstress it, but somebody, I left town in a hurry, and I took a big duffel bag with me, and some of the things I would have taken with me would have been from my days in the army, a few pieces at least. So it was sort of intended to reflect that a little bit, and I think that pair of shorts might have been one of those items, but anyway.
Which pair of shorts were they? The ones you wore all the time, or what colour were they? Red.
The green ones.
Oh yeah. Oh, God, I
White
remember
stripe. He was
them.
really jealous of those shorts. He's being coy about it. He wanted those shorts.
Yeah. Tried to buy them at the end, but they wouldn't let. Didn't give me a discount. So I thought, fuck it. Wear me on.
It's really quality discussion here. You don't get this every
It's
day.
important. Yeah.
I also have a question about the choice of the music. It's a
Yeah.
really great soundtrack and great songs as well. Is it something you all work on it together? Is it just your music?
I was listening to a lot of shoegaze in prep, and
You're too young.
sorry.
You're not too young.
No, it felt like relevant in this way. It's funny because I didn't know why I was listening to it so much for the film, and then when I talked to Bobby Krylik, the composer, he kind of rationalized it that there's these kind of angelic voices, but they're buried under these walls of sound, of kind of watery, distorted guitar, and there's something relevant about the repression of that to Ray, but also the kind of spiritual element in the film. And so, when I first talked to Bobby about incorporating a sort of shoegaze sound, he really understood on such an intuitive level that was pleasantly surprising, because I wasn't sure if he would go for it. But it was so it was kind of about combining that with these moments of a more kind of classical DNA. And originally there was a lot more kind of needle drops and like actual songs from the period and sort of shoegaze type songs throughout. And then he just kept on sending more cues that were just like, I was like, I can't not use this in the film. So it ended up being mostly score. Yeah.
Really remarkable. I mean, I love the soundtrack.
Yeah, you did an incredible job.
Are you having any other projects together in terms of writing or shooting, or like, I guess you're going to tour with the film a little bit. It's probably going to show in tons of different countries. But do you still want to continue to do things together?
I would love to. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I
Much
think
hope so.
yeah, if we can
We've been
find
making odd things.
Oh yeah.
together
Yes.
I did draw up adoption
Worth it.
papers for Sean, so he is officially part of the family now.
This is why we sit Sean in the middle, so he can really tag
Right.
along. But do you have something cooking, or no? It's probably too early.
No,
Don't need-
nothing specific. I mean, we've talked about just vague things that would be funny to explore, but yeah. I mean, if we can find something else that we're as obsessed with as we were with this, yeah.
Do you have time in the festival to watch other films, or you're just working all the time?
I would
Well,
love
so
to, but it's
far,
not
yeah, I'd
so
love to,
far.
but-
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot. I'd love to.
Just for inspiration, in case you need to meet other people. I think that's all we have time for today, unfortunately, which is too bad because I have so many other fun questions, but it'll be for the next one. I want to thank you so much for being here and showing Anemone, which is a very difficult word to say for French people. So,
I'm sorry.
it's a tough one. I had 2 years. But thank you so much. It was really great to hear you talk about the film and the process, and for sharing this beautiful film.
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thanks for
This
having
is
us.
Thank you.
great.